Aren't you so fucking done with begging for the bare minimum only for a guy to like look at you as if you're asking for the entire whole world, as if you're asking for the most complex, complicated, luxurious thing ever, and you're literally just asking for basic fucking respect, you know? And I feel like we really need to normalize not putting up with the bare minimum, but also not putting up with just someone who kind of shows up and is kind of sweet and is like kind of nice. It's kind of okay. Like, we are talking about your partner for life, and you shouldn't just settle for anything else but exactly the right person. And I decided to create this new series on the podcast called the Bad Boy Survival Guide, which is going to be a 10 episode series. This is the first one, and we're going to be talking about standards because I genuinely feel like we need to like be okay with not being for everyone. We need to learn to be okay with being exclusive, and that most people are not going to be okay with our standards. Most people are going to think we're too much. Most people are gonna literally run the other way as soon as they know that, like, oh, this bitch is demanding. But we are supposed to be. So I really want to start normalizing that because, I've had my fair share of fuck ups when it comes to my love life. And I really want everyone, including myself, to learn from those. I was in a 7-year toxic relationship. In case you don't know me, I just want to give you a little background. I was in a 7-year toxic relationship, and that was the most soul sucking experience I've ever had in my entire life. And it took me literally everything. I did so much healing, so much self love work to be able to simply walk away. That was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my entire life. And anytime any challenge comes up, I always remind myself, like, yeah, I did that, so I can do anything. But it was really hard, and I hated myself. I had very low self-esteem. I was super insecure about myself, about my body. Like, I was always comparing myself to every other girl. He cheated on me. He called me names. He pretty much bullied me and body shamed me all the fucking time. And he did not make me feel seen or heard or even loved at some point. We started our relationship when we were really young. And at that point, you're just like, oh, he likes me, I like him. And it feels like fairy tale love. You kind of just get swoon, and you don't really think about, logically what the fuck you're doing and what you're getting yourself into because you're just so excited about this new feeling and you're in love and it feels good, and like all the good hormones are just like being bombarded into your body and just like, yes, more of this or this. And then there's that moment when reality kicks in and you look at this person and there's like a crash, because suddenly like you start seeing all the red flags that you missed. Suddenly you start noticing certain patterns that are happening in your relationship, and you're like, shit, like I didn't realize this was here, or I didn't realize how bad this had gotten. And you start losing yourself the moment you don't walk away as soon as those things become clear to you. But the truth about standards and the reason why they are so important is that whether you're already in a relationship, or whether you're just getting started, or whether you're single and you're like going on dates, wherever, literally whenever, standards are key. Standards really do set the tone for the relationship that you're going to have. They set the tone for the relationship you have with yourself, because they are a reflection of your relationship with yourself. You know, and something that I realized is your standards are a direct reflection of you and how you treat yourself. We do not accept people to treat us like shit when we treat ourselves with decency and respect. You're just not going to make space for bullshit if you treat yourself with respect, and if you trust yourself, if you love yourself, if you really truly honor yourself. You're not going to allow a guy to question that. You're not going to allow a guy to mess up with that harmony that you already have going on for you. You're just not. You're not going to allow a guy to call you names or be aggressive with you, or, be flaky. And one day he's like all love bombing, and another day he's ghosting you, and you can barely get a text from him, and you never know what the fuck is going on in his mind. Like, you do not accept that type of treatment when you know how to treat yourself. So that's the first thing that I really want to say is you are, the standard. You are the standard. You need to remember this, because when you complain about like, oh, I keep attracting this man, this type of man, I keep attracting like all these toxic bad boys, or I keep attracting situationships, like, are you not being that with yourself? Like, if you're attracting toxic men into your life, are you not being toxic with yourself? If you're attracting situationships into your life, are you not being flaky with yourself? Are you fully committed to yourself? Like, are you actually ready to commit to a relationship, to commit to what it means? Because being in a relationship is all fun and games when it's all about sex and pleasure and, being on the high of the hormones that are like going through your body. But that is not what a relationship is all about. You have ups and downs just like life, and you're going to have moments of conflict. You're going to have moments where there are going to be misunderstandings. You're going to have moments where you have to be vulnerable and open and honest and clear, and that requires you to feel exposed. That requires a lot of vulnerability from you. And so when you don't know how to have that level of like intimacy with yourself, that's going to be hard to get in a relationship. And so maybe that's also why you keep attracting situationships. You see, like, everything is kind of related to how, like, to your relationship with yourself. That's where it always starts. And I think that's so fucking important to really start recognizing and reflecting, like, okay, I keep attracting these types of men. Who am I being to myself? How am I like mimicking this type of behavior with myself? How am I recreating these stories within myself? And when you start connecting those dots, it becomes so clear that, like, you know you are setting those standards. And the reason why I put up with a 7-year toxic relationship and with someone who treated me so badly was because I was treating myself worse. How he was treating me was so acceptable and it felt so normal to me, because first of all, when you go through childhood trauma and when you have parents that don't love you in a functional way, in a healthy way, and my parents were like everything but that. When you learn that love is something weird and twisted and dysfunctional and chaotic and unsafe, and then you go into relationships, you're going to bring those notions, you're going to bring those assumptions and those beliefs into your dating life. And so how it started for me was like, my parents used to fight all the time, and it was okay to like call each other names or yell or like, I don't know, like play games and miscommunicate on purpose because you don't want to like fully say what you mean and mean what you say. And so that type of games and communication and toxicity existed within me. And that's why it kind of like attracted that type of relationship with someone who also had their own traumas and was clearly unresolved. And we were kids, so I guess that it's okay. Now that I look back, I like, that makes sense. But like, if it was nowadays, I know I wouldn't put up with like not even 1% of that. I'm just not going to tolerate any disrespect. I'm not going to tolerate someone who doesn't understand, like, I am valuable. If you do not recognize my value the second I'm with you, if you do not like have that interest in pursuing me, if you are not certain of what you want, I do not want to waste my time. Because again, you set the standard. And when you see yourself as sacred, as valuable, as worthy, you are not going to beg for attention. You're not going to beg for the bare minimum. You just don't. You walk away. And something that I actually said on a recent post was like, we need to normalize walking away sooner. And we genuinely do. Because a lot of the times we start making justifications in our heads, like, oh, these are my standards and these are the things that I really want. And by the way, when I talk about standards, I don't mean like, oh, he has to have blue eyes. Otherwise, he sucks and I hate him. Like, I'm not saying don't find him attractive. Like, attraction is fucking important when it comes to dating. Like, I'm a Leo fucking Mars. I need sensuality. I need that like pull towards that person. 100%. That's so important to me. But I mean, I don't have a specific like, I'm not too demanding in that way because it's not that meaningful to me. And I find that a lot of the times we set those types of standards more like aesthetically speaking or externally, like the money, the blah blah, the whatever. But then we don't think about like the actuality of like, we're going to be in a relationship with this person. So what do I want a relationship to look like? Ideally, what would a relationship look like? How would we move forward? How would we evolve? What type of life could we create together? What life do I want to create for myself that I could, then involve my partner in, when we start actually thinking intentionally about these things, we start, creating certain kind of rules and like standards to ourselves, and like, okay, these are kind of like the non-negotiables. These are the requirements that I need, and I'm not gonna try to justify myself with these. These are what feel good to me. This is what's most aligned with who I truly am and what I know is what I need in my life. And so you set those standards, and then the first guy doesn't quite meet them, and you're just like, yeah, but like, he's like struggling with this, and maybe like once he figures this part out, maybe it's gonna feel different. Like this could totally evolve, and you kind of start trying to, like, lie to yourself. You kind of start trying to, what's the word, like, gaslighting yourself. Yeah. You kind of start gaslighting yourself into believing like, oh, this is the one, because I have so much fun when I'm with him, and he's so sweet. But like in the back of your mind, you're like, something is off. In the back of your mind, you feel like it's not quite right. In the back of your mind, you're noticing some red flags, but you're just like pushing them away because you don't want to pay attention to them. You are so desperate with being chosen that you're just kind of like, yeah, like we'll see, like we'll just go with the flow, see what this turns out to be. And then at some point, you're already in love with the person, you're already emotionally attached, and that's when it's basically impossible to walk away. Of course, it's not actually impossible, but like it does make it so much fucking harder. So the reason why we need to have standards is that those are kind of like your protection, and not in the way of like defense mechanisms and not letting yourself like open up to love, but in the sense of you need to protect your sacredness. You need to protect your values. You need to protect the life that you're wanting to build for yourself, that you're already building for yourself, and the person that you want to become. Because believe me, like this person, this partner of yours will influence that. He will influence your growth. And when you don't care about that, when you kind of like ignore that a little and you're just like, pushing it away, you're also not valuing your growth and your time and your energy, and how important the environment around you, the people around you, your relationships are to your growth. And they really are. Like the person beside you can either lift you up and inspire you and help you believe in yourself and like help you become the best version of yourself, or they can literally hold you so much back, so fucking back that you can barely move, that you feel frustrated, that you start almost glowing down, you lose your spark, you lose your sense of purpose, you lose your sense of individuality. Like those things are important. You do not want to find yourself there. So the standards is the fucking barrier. It's the boundaries that you need to have before even meeting someone. You just have to have those standards within yourself first. You need to show up with those standards into your own life, in your own relationship with yourself, because then how you interact with people that you might date, like potential partners, it just becomes different. You tolerate so much less. And that is not a bad thing. I think we make it so bad because it's like, oh, if I tolerate less, I'm less available and there's less chances that I find someone. And actually, in in my experience, what happens is, yes, you find less men, but you find more of the right men. You know what I mean? So maybe you niche down, but that is a good thing because then it means that you do not have to deal with BS, and you're actually like really getting laser focused in the type of like men that will genuinely fulfill you and will genuinely be the type of man that could be like your husband and your life partner and the father of your children, like, whatever you want. And I think those are important things, and we shouldn't devalue them just because we want attention, just because we want love, because we want sex. Those things need to be so fucking solid that nothing is going to break them. And believe me, there's going to be a lot of guys that kind of make you question that because you have fun with them, and because it's nice for a while, and because you have all that giddiness come back to you, and it feels so good when we're in that vibe. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm a hopeful romantic, and I just love romance. Okay, I'm a comic com what the fuck, I'm a rom-com obsessed girly. Okay, Give me all the romance. Give me all the smut. Like, I love that. I live for that. I've always loved romance so much. You know, relationships, partnership, that has always felt really meaningful to me. I know a lot of people are like independent girl era. I mean, respect that, but I'm not that bitch. I'm also not wanting to be codependent, but I definitely want to be able to co create something with someone. And I do that in my friendships already. I do that with myself. I do that with the people in my family that I want to take with me throughout my life, because long lasting relationships, good, inspiring, fruitful, long lasting relationships is something really valuable and important to me. And so that's always the mindset that I'm in when I'm choosing the people that I want to be around, especially if they're like in my inner circle, which is most people that I know, because I don't have time for outer circles. I don't have time to like socialize to the point where I'm just like, oh yeah, I kind of know this person, but I don't really. Acquaintances, I'm not really that bitch. I'm more of like, I love you, I'm obsessed with you, or I don't give a fuck. Um but with boys, it's usually slightly different because, there's that thing within me of like wanting approval, wanting validation, wanting them to choose me, the flirtiness, like the games. I love that. I'm obsessed with that. And that's good. I love being an obsessed bitch. But that's why I'm so rational about that first level of that process of like, okay, who do I want in my life? Who do I want in my energy? Because I'm not just about to, you know, beg for consistency. I'm not going to beg for attention. I'm not going to like struggle to understand, is he into me or not? Like, my man, my husband, because I already feel him, and I do something really cool that, just a little tip, if you want to, kind of connect with that energy. I love writing letters to my husband, although I don't know who he is, although I'm not married yet. But I love writing letters to him, and my idea is like, when we are married, that's gonna be my like present, my gift to him. But I sometimes like to write letters to him, and that helps me feel closer to him. You can also use, visualization methods, etc., etc. But that's something that personally works for me. And I just like to think, my husband this and my husband that, and my husband would never does. And these are the things that my husband does for me on a daily basis. And if there's something that I know, is that I don't question whether my husband loves me or not. I don't question his intentions. I don't question, his character. Those are things that are very clear to me. Those are not those are not things like, oh my God, you're demanding so much. Like, you're asking for so much. Like, bitch, this is the bare minimum. Can we make the bare minimum high fucking standards? Because why would you ever lower your standards for someone? It's your life, it's your energy, it's your dream and your vision. Why should you downgrade it for someone who doesn't deserve you? Why should you downgrade it just for like, a second of attention when you're going to have so much more trouble? It's not going to be worth it at the end of the day. You know, this is something that is hard when you don't have that self-love going on, and when you're not really sure of yourself and you feel more lost. Like, that's what I've noticed, like when I'm going through it, oh, I get so much more needy, and I'm like this close to accepting a bitch that like does not deserve me. I'm this close to accepting a guy that like, higher self Bia would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, shaking me to my core, just being like, wake the fuck up. This is an absolute red flag of a no. Absolutely no. Walk the other way. But this is something that you kind of practice with yourself, and you start understanding, okay, a lot of the times I am silencing myself, or I'm like um deleting, not deleting, annulating, and I don't know how this expression goes, but I'm basically like diminishing myself and like shrinking myself so that this person can shine in my life. Because if I was in my full power, this person wouldn't be here. If I was in my full power, I wouldn't give this person like one moment of my day. And I think this is the energy that we really need to bring back. And if you're in a relationship, or if you're already kind of seeing someone, whether it's like a Loki, situationship, or whether it's like a relationship that you've had for a while, I think sometimes you kind of start realizing like, okay, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. So many things here don't really honor me. Like, I hate the way I feel. Maybe not when you're with him, but then there's so many other moments where you're like, should it feel this way? And I'm going to tell you, no, it shouldn't. I'm not saying that relationships won't be hard and challenging sometimes, because of course they will. Like, and something that actually taught me this was my best friend. Having my relationship with my best friend taught me about love, and it taught me about relationships, and it taught me about forgiveness and communication and vulnerability and all the things that I feel make a really good relationship. Because there's been so many moments where we could have broken up, quote unquote. We could have like walked away. We could have been like, yeah, this is too hard. And we didn't, because we were both in that page of like, we want this to work, and we're not gonna dishonor ourselves. We're not gonna like abandon ourselves individually to like make space for this relationship. And that has something that's been very clear since basically the day one. And I think that's really important, that no matter what stage you're in a relationship, in a situationship, in starting a date and with a guy, whatever, it's like, I know that this will always be the truth. This will always be my anchor, that no matter what happens, I know that I still have myself. And that is the most important thing. So that if I ever have to walk away, I can. And when you are already in a relationship or in a specific setting with someone, I would say that's when the guilt tripping might happen. That's when I mean, oh my god, the amount of times that I heard a guy, especially my ex, tell me like, oh, you really think someone is gonna put up with you? You really think blah blah blah, like you're never gonna find someone who's able to do this and that for you. You're never gonna find this and that. And blah, like, he would literally like poke at my fears, that I wouldn't find anyone, that I would never, like, no one would ever love me, that blah blah blah. And so for such a long time I stayed out of fear and not finding better, and I just let myself stay there. But that's the thing. The only people who guilt trip you into a relationship, the only people who guilt trip you into staying when it's clearly like overdone, it's the people that have everything to gain with your weakness. It's the people that have everything to gain with you not being in your power. It's the people who do not feel confident in themselves. The people who are insecure and lack, what's the word? Lack, not structure. Shit, I hate when I forget words. That lack integrity. That's the word. Thank you. Hallelujah. It's always the people who lack integrity that are begging for you to accept them, although they know that like they're hurting you somehow. They're harming you somehow, right? It's always the people who are like, "Oh my god, I promise this will never happen again." That like, they're settling. They're settling because deep down they don't want to have the pain and the ass of finding someone new. They're good where they are, and they just take you for fucking granted. It's like, okay, this is checked out of my list. I can move on and figure the rest of my life out. And when you really understand, like, actually, I want more, I want better, and that person like begging for you to stay, that person does not have your best interest at heart. And honestly, to be fair, no one can have your best interest at heart when you do not know how to advocate for yourself, which is why you need to be so fucking like self-validating about your own standards, about what you do want. And let me tell you that wanting flowers, wanting gifts, wanting attention, wanting love, wanting like all the things that I bet you want, those are not major things. That is not you being too much. That is not you being too demanding. I'm just so fucking done with this narrative. Like, I'm sorry. Why would I ever stay for something basic? We're talking about a lifetime relationship. That's what I want to build. I want the father of my kids. I want someone that I can like marry and create something beautiful with for the rest of my life. Why would I, be basic about that? Why would I lower my standards? No, I want the highest standards. I'm not saying that this man has to have it all figured out and that they have to be fucking perfect, because that's also not realistic. But what I mean is, you're not staying for potential, and you're not staying for whatever picture you created of him in your head. You are staying because the reality of who he is is someone that you already love and resonate with and truly can, like, be on board with. You're not making excuses for him. You're not trying to justify yourself into like why you're staying. And you're not like avoiding or abandoning your standards and what you know is your truth for him. The second you start doing that is the second you start losing yourself. And it's the second you're like definitely going to find yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in. And I think that's so freaking important. And I've been on dating apps and all of that. And something that I started doing, which at first I was like, oh my God, is this bad? Like, am I being too demanding? Like, does this mean that I'm not going to find my person? Was that sometimes I wouldn't even go on a date with him, like with whatever guy we were talking about. Like, I would not even get on the process of like getting on the date because the first few fucking like texts we would exchange, I would already be like, this is not it. Goodbye. Like that happened so many times. In like I think it was around 6 months that I was on a dating app or something. Throughout those 6 months, I literally went on, I think, 4 dates, and one of them was off the app. So 3 dates. Or was it two? No, 3 days. Yeah, 3 dates on the app. And I talked to a lot of people. I matched with a lot of people. And most of them were like, yeah, no, yeah, no. Because the thing is, so hear me out with this one. You are going to have to reject hundreds of men, thousands of men, dozens of men before you find your guy, before you find your husband. It's just part of the process. You are supposed to reject them. You're supposed to walk away from a lot of, quote unquote, opportunities and possibilities because maybe it is a possibility. Every guy, like, if there's something that I learned is like, you can fall in love with everyone. Everyone can be good enough for you to fall in love and for you to like have a good time at first. Most people, at least, like I say 98, 97, 95% of people, it's okay enough to like start a relationship. The thing is, if you really want to build something meaningful, like you're going to notice that most people will not fit your criteria. Most people will not fit your standards. Most people will not be fully compatible with you. And when I talk about compatibility, I don't mean being exactly the same to you. I don't mean like, oh my God, I like this color and he likes that color too. No, I mean compatibility is like, okay, our values match. We can build a life together without one of us having to sacrifice like themselves. And I think that's so important. And we sacrifice ourselves way too much for guys. We sacrifice our truth, we sacrifice our values, we sacrifice, our self-love and our confidence for what? For a second of attention when our husband is waiting to give us like the fucking world. You know? So that's what I try to remember. It is normal to reject a ton fuck of guys before I find the right one. It is normal. And when you start normalizing that and you stop making your standards like the reason, like, maybe I'm just asking for too much, you're not. You're probably asking for too little. And if you're not sure whether you are or not, then definitely, because I wanna address this first. I have a little thing going on. I want to create a segment where you guys interact with this series, where you can share about your stories, about your questions, your doubts, about maybe a situation you're in right now with a situationship or a guy you're into or whatever it is. Just really share with us or with me. What am I? Well, with us, I guess, with the girlies too. But share with us and yeah, just send me a little bit of that. I'm gonna this was the worst way of explaining this, but I'm gonna leave the link in the description of this episode just because I really feel like this would make it such a better experience if we were able to like share those stories in here. I'm sure a lot of your questions are someone else's questions, and it will just make this more interactive and funnier to like navigate. Because yeah, I would love to know what your standards are and what the standards you think maybe this is a bit too much. Like, is this actually me being delusional and me being like, okay, I read too much smut fiction, whatever? Or is this like actually like this is something you should expect? This is something that is like the bare fucking minimum. So definitely leave your input there. Again, the link is going to be down below in the description of this episode, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever you are. Just definitely go check that out. It would be so fun to have your story. So that would be really cool. um but back to what I was saying, I think it's just important for you to understand that what you're asking is probably very little, very fucking little. Asking for a guy to be totally into you, I mean, what else can you expect? Asking a guy to respect you, to not raise his tone, to be patient, to be compassionate, to be emotionally mature and intelligent, like, the bar is so low. What do you mean? Those are the most basic things, because guess what? Aren't you that to yourself? Aren't you doing your fucking work? Aren't you trying to be the best version of yourself? Aren't you trying to communicate better, set better boundaries, love yourself more? Why would you accept anything less? You know what I mean? Like, if you are trying to be the best version of yourself, why should you accept someone who isn't trying at all? And I think we should really fucking walk away sooner. We should really, like, realize, okay, like, I'm gonna validate myself for the standards that I have, even if they're too much for you. Okay, babe, goodbye. If they're too much for you, that means you're not my person. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think the problem is that we do not want the rejection, because I think we associate that rejection with, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. Like, told you I wasn't good enough. Like, I told you we would never get this guy. Way too out of our league. Like, whatever it is, we just feel like maybe it's because I'm not pretty enough. Maybe it's because blah blah. Maybe it's, we kind of start over. Like, I do this. Do you guys do this? Like, I start over analyzing everything that I said, how I said it, how I walked, how I moved, how I, because I start like, there must be a reason why you rejected me. Let me, like, start analyzing. Let me start, like, thinking about it. But really, it's like, some people are just not going to be your match. Most people aren't. Because if you really believe that there's, like, I'm not saying that there's one only person in the whole world for you, but I do believe, and again, this is my personal belief, it doesn't have to be yours, but I do believe that the universe has selected my person. And when I say my person, is like my soulmate. I have my friend, my girlfriend, I have my bestie, she's my soulmate too. And I have people that have moved through my life that are, temporary soulmates, let's say, people who have taught me so much, like my 6 month relationship back in, whatever, I think it was 2022. He taught me so much, and I'm so appreciative of him, although it hurt a lot to walk away. And nowadays I would have never put myself in that situation. And I know nowadays, like, if you don't know what you want, or if you don't want a relationship, I'm not even gonna go there, because I'm sorry, but I mean, I want devotion. I deserve that level of devotion and commitment, because that's the type of relationship that I want. And that is already a good enough reason. You do not have to justify yourself beyond that. It's like, it's what I want. It's what I want for my life. It's what I want to build for myself. Oh yeah, but like, commitment is really just a label. Like, okay, it's for you, it's a label. But to me, actually, commitment means that I get to feel safe and being vulnerable and being intimate and exposing my heart to you. Because believe me, if I love you, if I'm like genuinely, if I'm like choosing you as a person, I'm gonna be so vulnerable. I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna show you all of my heart. And that is me, like, sharing the most sacred thing that I have, which is my heart. That is the most valuable thing that I have. So believe me, if I'm sharing that, the least you can fucking do is commit. The least you can fucking do is honor that with all your heart. The least you can do is show me that you are a safe space and that you're gonna hold that. It's the least you can do. Seriously. So it's like, I mean, okay, sure, it's a label to you, it's not to me. For me, it's reassurance. For me, it's protection. For me, it's safety. For me, it's knowing that I can rely on you. For me, it's knowing that I can build something with you. Because why would I give you my heart knowing that you might walk away tomorrow if you just feel like it? And I'm not saying that, like, of course, even if you marry, even if you find someone to build a relationship with, yes, there is always a chance that eventually might not work out. But it's different because the person is in a different mindset. When you are committed to something, you want to make it work, not to sacrifice yourself, but you do work on yourself in a different way. you adjust and you learn and you listen to the other person and you're more open to resolution because you want to build something with them. You have chosen them. And I think that feels so different than you're in a situationship or something. And if they get upset or you get upset, you're just like, okay, let's just take a break, you know? And suddenly you don't hear from them or suddenly they just choose to walk away. That's something that happened in my situationship. Like, he was incredible. Up until that point, it was definitely the greatest man I had ever met, ever. And he inspired me so much and he made me believe again that it was possible to be loved in a better way, in the right way. And he did love me in ways that I never thought I could be loved. And so I am very appreciative and grateful for that. But something that I noticed now looking back is like every time something was slightly off or upsetting or blah, 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 like he would just kind of walk away or distance himself, and because he didn't feel like he owed me anything. And truthfully, no one really owes you anything. But the thing is, when you're committed and when the other person is committed, they kind of owe it to themselves to show up. And that's the fucking difference. So don't tell me it's just a fucking label. Don't tell me it's just like, oh, whatever. Like, love is still here. A label doesn't change anything. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Like, seriously, I hate that. No, I'm trying to build something truly long lasting and meaningful. I'm not going to just give that to someone who doesn't even get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it, and I'm going to walk away. I think that is the most powerful thing you have. It's your standards. Those are the things that dictate what you accept and what you don't accept. Those are the things that dictate what you get to avoid so that you don't put yourself to like learn another fucking lesson, and so that you can actually like meet with what is going to help you grow in your soul, in your life, in your, dreams, whatever it is. Like, do you want to be, like, you don't just, and I know this because you're here. So you don't want just like someone to hang around. No, you want something beautiful. You want something meaningful. Maybe it's not going to be like Disney's, happily ever after, but I do think that we all want to be like swept off our feet and we want something almost movie like. And it's not going to feel that way always, but there's going to be this deep trust and appreciation that I think is so worth the trouble of being rejected and rejecting other people. And again, we usually are so scared of that because we make it mean something about ourselves and we try to fight like imperfections or something like wrong with us, like it must be something I did, but it really isn't. Some people are just not going to match with you, and that is okay. Just like there's taste for everything. Not everyone loves noodles. I don't know how. Whoever you are a sick person for not loving noodles. Well, like some people don't. That's why we have a ton fuck of options, a ton fuck of fish in the sea. You know, we just like, you have options. You have so much to choose from. Not to like objectify men or something, but you do have infinite possibilities. So choose what feels actually good to you. It's what you deserve. It's what you owe yourself, you know? I think that just really changes how you show up in your dating life, whether it's in your relationships or not. I just think that really changes things. And so the next time someone makes you question your standards, someone is like, oh yeah, don't you think that you're like asking for too much? Just really shove this in their ass. You know what I mean? Like, fuck them. Like, the next time you question your standards, just remember why they are meaningful to you. Why they are important to you, and how you are being the person that is also committed to yourself. And why you would never like choose someone who cannot hold their own fucking emotions, who like every time they get angry, they don't know how to like handle their frustration, so they like put it on you. You know? Like, if you're doing the work, don't accept anything less. If you're working on being more emotionally mature, don't accept anything less. If you want commitment and if you want to create something meaningful, don't accept anything less in any circumstances. Because that's also the thing. We kind of like open exceptions, whether it's temporary exceptions like, oh, it's just for one night because like I'm a little desperate and needy and horny and I just want a little dick, you know? I get it. I get it. Because I'm a nasty girl. I fucking get it. And I know it's hard, but you deserve better. And you have to be the one to be like, this or nothing. And I know it sounds a bit drastic and dramatic and like radical, but it is though. Because it's you we're talking about and you deserve the best. Would your husband like not support that though? Like, think about who you'd be to your children or to your best friend. Would you not want them to also be like the best? Because if you are gonna settle down with someone, then don't settle, you know? You know what I mean? Really pick the person that you believe is gonna make you the happiest, who's gonna support you, who's gonna like be able to build something with you, who's gonna be able to like not just for hold space, not just for when you're feeling great, but also when you don't feel like it, when you don't feel horny, when you're not like in the mood, when you're like having one of those days, when you're feeling frustrated, when you're angry, when you're grieving, when you're struggling, when you're going through it, and like find someone who will support you just like you want to support them, because aren't you the most loving person ever? Just really be honest with me. Like, aren't you fucking beautiful, loving, kind, motherly, generous, sensitive? Aren't you going to be someone who genuinely wants to make him feel at home? Why would you not want the same thing for yourself? Why would you not like, demand that from the people that you're gonna be dating? And I don't mean that as in like verbally demand. We don't make verbal demands. You don't have to be like, yeah, this and this and this and this and this. Of course you can talk about like the things that you want and expect and your standards, but not in a demanding way, in the sense of like, oh yeah, you have to do this, otherwise no. Because you just really have to know what you want, and the moment that person doesn't align with it, goodbye. It doesn't mean that conflict won't happen. It does not mean like, again, compatibility and your standards is not the same as being not flexible. But flexibility isn't disrespecting yourself, and it isn't sacrificing yourself at all. Flexibility is listening to the other person. Flexibility is knowing how to communicate and understanding that sometimes things are not going to sometimes it's going to be hard. But it's also knowing like this person wants the best for me, they love me, and they're also doing the work, and they're not just putting all this on me and like, oh, this and this and this and this. Like, no, they're also like, when you have that conflict, they're also working within themselves. Then that's your person, because that's someone you can grow up with and grow with as a person. So I think there's no such thing as the bare minimum. It's either everything you want, that your soul truly wants for growth and for like the character development that you fucking deserve in this lifetime, or it's nothing. Because it's better to learn how to be with yourself and to be someone who like truly supports you. And believe me, maybe you need that right now. And maybe that's why you haven't found the person, because maybe you need to learn how to be that person for yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is good, because then when your husband shows up, you're going to be able to recognize him. And then when someone who isn't your husband shows up, you're going to be able to recognize that so fucking quickly, because it's not in alignment with who you're being to yourself anymore. Because it doesn't resonate with anymore. Because it's strange behavior that they don't respect you the way you respect yourself, the way that they don't see you as a sacred being, because you are, and you see that within yourself. It's gonna start not like energetically making sense, to the point where they're not even in your radar anymore, and you're like unbothered by those types of people, by that type of attention, by that type of approval, because it doesn't matter anymore. You approve yourself, you validate yourself, you know you're more than enough, you know you're not too much. And when you have that, you just stop begging. And I think that is so fucking powerful. And I think that is it for episode 1 of this series that we're doing. I don't want to extend myself too much, because we have 10 episodes of this, and I'm sure I'm going to repeat some things throughout the episodes, but every episode is going to have like something new, a lesson, or just an insight, or a conversation that I find really important in you know in the lens of dating and love life. Because although my husband isn't here yet, I have learned so much by all the mistakes that I've made and by all the things that I've learned within myself with the way I'm now showing up for myself. And I really want to put that out there because so many people talk to me about like, oh, like I was in this situation with this guy and I just like saw your videos and it just really helped me snap out of it. So I kind of wanted to bring that energy here, and that's why I decided to create the Bad Boy Survival Guide. So girls, if you want to interact, please leave, a little voice note. You just click the link in the description of the episode and you'll have like basically you'll be able to send me a 1 minute voice note about your experience, about whatever you feel like for this series. And I'm going to be showing here anonymously, of course. So no one knows that it's you but you. And this is going to be a really fun way of interacting here in the show. So please, please, please leave that in the box thingy below, and I'll see you in the next one. We're gonna do these every other week, so it's not gonna be next week, it's gonna be the week after that, just because I also want to have my own unthemed episodes. I need that. I need to just yap and do what I usually do. um but I'm really excited about this new series. This is so exciting. It's not the only one, by the way. I already have some ideas for other series that I'm going to be doing. But for now, this is the one. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. So thank you so much. I love you, girls.